Let's welcome in Tom Murphy into the program this morning. Tom, the big kind of storyline that we've been focusing on is the Big 12 cease and desist letter from Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner. There's been so many stories we've had to track, so many things that we've had to follow as of late. What were your initial thoughts when you saw that cease and desist letter that I think was first obtained by Sports Illustrated?
Right. Well, it felt like a logical move to me by Bob Bowlesby and the Big 12. If he has, legitimate proof that ESPN has reached out to other conferences, or I think he said 3 or 4 of our schools to help try to break it up, it's almost a sinister thing. And is there any honor in college athletics? Because ESPN would financially gain from that if Texas and Oklahoma did not have to pay their massive buyouts. So I did see some commentary yesterday. Well, will ESPN face really any serious consequences if all this is true? And I don't know the answer to that. It's like somebody said at SEC Media Days, I can't remember which coach or somebody said that the lawyers are going to be the one who wind up profiting, because there's going to be and there could be litigation that comes from it. I think Bowlesby used the word tortious or something like that.
Torturous interference.
Legal action.
Yeah. I mean, and you got to be careful if you're the remaining 8 member institutions, because you get caught, and you would be named as a plaintiff, as a member of the Big 12. If you go to court with ESPN, ultimately you don't want to be at odds with them forever, because you want them to televise your football games, your basketball games, maybe your baseball games somewhere down the road. You're going to have a working relationship if you're Oklahoma State or Kansas or TCU or Baylor or any of the remaining 8, the angry 8. You're going to have a working relationship with ESPN. It's unavoidable for both parties.
Yeah, you just have to tread very carefully, and there's going to be so much money involved. I mean, we know based on reports that if Oklahoma and Texas were to just go now, that it could be somewhere in the $70 million range for each of the schools. They basically have to forfeit the remaining years of their grant of rights on TV. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that they're going to try to work out a deal where they and y'all probably saw today or last night where Texas A&M's regents have agreed to support the move. Mm-hmm. And so it's probably going to be unanimous. And then it just comes down to how the money gets moved around. And I feel bad for the Big 12 because there's some strong football playing schools, still in there. I mean, I feel really bad for Oklahoma State. And Baylor just won the men's basketball tournament, and then now this confronts them. I think I said this with you guys on Monday, that I go back to Greg Sankey's opening line at SEC Media Days. He knew this was coming. Sure, Times are changing, and I think it's about realignment and consolidation of power in college football, because the end result of all this is the SEC, the Power 5 leagues, or Power 4, whatever winds up, and SEC are going to be more in control of their rules and of their enforcement and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Tom, there's a lot of people in the media and a lot of reports, and people believe that Texas and OU will be full-fledged members this time next year, and that may end up being true. Here's the hurdle I haven't cleared in my mind from a business standpoint. I'm putting my business hat on and trying to figure it out, because CBS still has that 2:30 game every week, and that contract extends for a few more years, and they're paying $55 or so million a year. ESPN's new deal hasn't kicked in, but that could be maybe renegotiated. So we know the revenue now is not to the point where it's going to be rewarding the existing 14 schools like $65 million in a few years. If you bring Texas and OU in next year, how does the finances work out? Because CBS, I don't think is just going to relent and give more money when they're not required to, and I don't think because where are they going to get more games and more inventory unless they gave them more doubleheaders, perhaps? I don't think that's going to work out. I'm trying to figure out how Texas and OU come in the league sooner and the pot grows so that each school doesn't take a smaller slice. That's the part of them coming sooner I haven't worked out is where the revenue comes from.
Well, now that's a great point, and it's a little bit deeper. The strata of this is in the financial impact of it all is great, and I don't know the answer to it other than there's going to be a lot of lawyers having a lot of negotiation and a lot of talking about how to resolve all this. Right. And you would think that Texas and OU would want to, as soon as possible, get out, but without facing the stiff financial penalty there. So there's so many moving parts. There's so many entities, conferences, major television broadcasters, and even individual advertisers. So it's a very, very complicated mess with many, many dollar signs in front of it.
That's why I think 2 more seasons is the likely answer, because I think the only way to get the money up for the league in due time is 9 games as the ultimate answer to sweeten the pot, and getting that Longhorn Network figured out how to make it like SEC Network 2. There's just, I don't know how you do it in a year and get everybody's schedules, because every league member would have to dump a non-conference game if you go to 9 by what would that be, 2022? I don't think you can do that in a year. That'd be a big hurdle to clear.
It really is, Tommy, and that's a great point. So many of the schools now have scheduled out. I mean, Hunter Yurachek is scheduled out into the 2030s with some of these the marquee non-conference matchups. Mm-hmm. So very, very tangled stuff. And yes, games will end up being canceled, I would think, if this comes about in the next year or two.
Yeah. Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush. Tom, we're going to do some over-unders with you this upcoming football season. Traylon Smith over-under 845.5 rushing yards this year.
Yeah, I think I saw the same email, the same website that you did, because that number intrigues me.
Sportsbettingdive.com.
I think he's plenty capable of exceeding that. But I also believe that you look at what Georgia's done with their running backs in recent years. I know Zamir White kind of had a large number last year, but they've mixed up their backs. Even when they had DeAndre Swift, other guys were getting carries. And I think Sam sees the value in that, and it also helps you in your locker room. And they've got some really talented running backs. I talked to Javion Hunt yesterday for our Hog Future series, and outstanding kid. And he doesn't get talked about a whole lot right now as a true freshman. But, man, I'm going to go with the under. A long explanation, but I'm going to go with the under because I just think that they're going to give Rocket Sanders and T.J. Hammonds and Josh Oglesby are going to get carries and reps.
What about Traylon Burks over under 997.5 receiving yards?
Yeah, again, man, just a spectacular talent. He's gonna make catches even when he's covered, and it's just a high number. I'm gonna go under that too.
Okay. Next two, real quick. KJ Jefferson over under 2,825 passing yards.
Yeah, based on Felipe's numbers, I think if you extrapolate out, I think he'd push that in a 13-game season. So I'll go with the over on that one.
All right, last one, Tom. KJ Jefferson over under 21.5 passing touchdowns.
2 a game. You can do that. I'll go over.
Hey, last one before we go tonight. NBA draft. Your thoughts on Moses Moody? Any projections on where he lands?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Bob's story today and all the different projections in the teens, and he's invited, he's in the green room and so on. So I would say in the teens, somewhere low teens. And if he goes single figures, great for him. Quick word about Simone Biles. I think the negative attitudes about quitting or whatever, I disagree with that. I think mentally, the gymnastics that you do, when you talk about fear of getting hurt, if your head is not in it, and you're up there doing her flips and turns, that stuff, I agree, and I think it's good for her that if she didn't feel right mentally, she backed away.
Tom, we appreciate it, buddy. I will not be here next Sunday, but you'll be here. So have a good weekend, and we'll talk a little Moses Moody draft tomorrow. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Sounds good. Take care.
Good stuff from Tom Murphy, as always, with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports.